Welcome to Bible Reader Companion. Our Bible reading this week is Philippians chapters 3 and 4 and Hebrews chapters 1 through 8. And our memory verse is Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 15, which goes like this. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted just as we are, yet without sin. This, of course, is speaking of Christ and the fact that he came and he suffered as a man. And as we think about that, let us take a look for just a moment at Hebrews chapter 2 and beginning in verse 10. Hebrews 2 verses 10 through 18. For it was fitting for him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons to glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. For both he who sanctifies and those who are being sanctified are all of one, for which reason he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly I will sing praise to you. And again, I will put my trust in him. And again, here am I and the children whom God has given me. Inasmuch as the children have partaken of flesh and blood, he himself likewise shared in the same, that through death he might destroy him who had the power of death, that is, the devil, and release those who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. For indeed, he does not give aid to angels, but he does give aid to the seed of Abraham. Therefore, in all things he had to be made like his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to aid those who are tempted. He touches on a couple of different things here. In the early part of this, we notice he talked about him being made perfect through suffering. And in the latter part of this, he again references the suffering and the fact that by having suffered, he's able to render aid to those who are tempted. It is such a relief to know that when we go to our high priest, that he understands what we're going through, that he has endured what we are going through. But then he says something else as well in this text. And that is he talks about the fact that he came in the flesh, that he might overcome something, that he might overcome death. The flesh to rise again, but not just temporarily, eternally. Jesus came and he suffered. He knew what he was going to suffer. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a second guess. It wasn't a rechanging or a changing of the plan from what he intended when he came. It was what he knew all along he would have to endure. He knew he would be rejected. He knew he would be persecuted. He knew he would be put to death. But he did it, that he might be able to render aid to those who are tempted and to be able to overcome death, not just once, but once for all time, for all men, to give all of us the freedom, it says, from bondage. What bondage? The fear of death. We no longer have to fear death because Jesus came, because our high priest sacrificed himself that we might have that freedom and that lack of fear of death. What a wonderful thing that we can go to Jesus, our high priest, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted just as we are, yet without sin. Hope you'll think on these things and join us again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook for more content like this.